Hi, I wanted to share a slightly different video on my channel today. Besides reading and writing, one of my biggest hobbies is crocheting. And this is a time of year where me and a lot of other people who crochet start to freak out going, oh my gosh, do I have enough time to make all the projects that I want to make? And oh no, my nephew he decided to come to Christmas and I have nothing for him. I have 5 hours to make something. What do I do? I have run into all these issues and I want to share a lot of good last minute gift ideas that are really budget friendly, and you can do them. Some of these you can do these in an hour or less. Some of these might take a few days, just depends on how last minute it is. But I've got a lot of great ideas, a lot of easy ideas, a lot of cheap ideas. So don't worry. And when I talk about cheap, I mean $5 or less for most of these. Super cheap and super easy. So for the next couple minutes, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite yarns for budget crocheting. So if you don't want to hear me gush about the Caron 1 pound for a few minutes, go ahead and skip to this timestamp. But if you want to crochet on a budget, you and the Caron 1 pound should become best friends. This yarn is amazing. And the reason I wanted to make this video right now, at the beginning of November, is because Black Friday is coming up. And wouldn't you know it, these always go on sale on Black Friday. Joann Fabrics, for the last several Black Fridays, has put these on sale for $5. And they do this a couple times a year. Just watch, it won't be on sale this year because I'm making this video. But these always go on sale for $5. They wheel out these giant bins and they're just stuffed with all sorts of colors of these, and they're super cheap. And you can always find them. They never sell out of them. It's wonderful. As long as you can brave the crowds, this stuff is amazing. And it's not just amazing because it's cheap. Normally this goes for $7 to $12 retail price. And that's a fairly good deal in and of itself. This has 812 yards of yarn in it, and a normal skein of yarn is 200 to 300. And a normal skein of yarn is going to cost you $3 to $5 depending on the quality of it. And this is fairly decent quality. And so this is a pretty good deal in and of itself. For $5, that's really, really good. And you can find tons of colors and it's wonderful. So besides it being really cheap, when you can get it on those really good sales, I also really like it because it's actually a good yarn. It is 100% acrylic, and if you're kind of a yarn snob and don't like acrylic yarn, I don't know what you're doing in this video. Acrylic is the budget yarn of choice. Cotton sometimes too if you can find it cheap. But acrylic, that is the budget crocheter's like friend. This is our best friend. It's 100% acrylic, but it's not nearly as scratchy as a lot of cheap acrylics. It's actually very soft. It's not as soft as the Caron Simply Soft or their softer version. It's not quite as soft as that, but it's still very soft. And if you wash whatever you've made and you dry it with a fabric sheet, it gets super soft. I just washed a project I made for Christmas and oh my god, it feels super silky and wonderful. And so it gets really soft, so don't worry about it feeling scratchy. It's actually very nice. This works great for a variety of projects: sweaters, blankets, hats, scarves, stuffed animals, all sorts of stuff. It doesn't split very easily. Splitting just kind of means when you're crocheting it and it goes in between little threads of the yarn, because yarn is usually made up of 4 strands of yarn, sometimes more twisted together, and sometimes if you get kind of crappy yarn, it'll split and it can be weird because you're pulling only part of the yarn and it sucks. This doesn't do that. I have never run into that issue with this. Also, I have very rarely found knots in here. And knots suck because you either have to cut them out, so it means you have to weave in more ends, or you're stuck with a knot somewhere in your project and it's just not fun. I have very rarely run into a knot in these, which is really good considering that this is fairly cheap yarn. I think I already mentioned these come in a ton of colors. I mean, it's amazing going to Joann's when they have their sale, because Joann's has a fairly decent selection of these already. They have like a wall of them. Pretty much just one huge section dedicated to these. But they bring out the bins, and it's just tons of colors, and it's lovely, and I nerd out and I love it. But yeah, so like I said, I was gonna gush about this for a few minutes. But yes, so this is your friend if you are on a budget. So another yarn that can be your friend on a budget, if you can time the sales right, is the Lily Sugar and Cream cotton yarn. Now, this doesn't go on as good of a sale around the holidays, but there are a couple times a year where this goes on sale for 99 cents at Michael's. And if you can time the sales right, you can get a lot of these for really cheap. But even if they don't go on sale, if you have a coupon, like a 50% off coupon for a regular price item, you can get this for like $1, which is wonderful. And one of these can make a couple of different projects really quickly, and they're really useful. And so this is another yarn that is great to have if you can. So the other thing you can do if you're on a budget, or not, I mean, I do this all the time, but I probably shouldn't, is go look at the clearance section. This is the Bernat Softy Chunky yarn. And there's a lot of this yarn that is not on clearance. There's a lot of this yarn that is on clearance. And I think it's just the different colors they put on clearance. Michael's has a giant wall of this stuff that is on clearance for 99 cents a skein. Some of the colors are fine. Some of the colors are ugly, but it just kind of depends. But one of these, because it's chunky yarn, can make a couple of hats, and it's super fast. I mean, I made a hat for my husband, like, I don't know, in a day. It was less than a day. It took less than that, but I made it all fancy and I put pom-poms and stuff on it. And it was super quick. So, we have all this nice, cheap yarn, if you can find it on a sale. If you're able to stock up on yarn before now, this makes this whole process a lot easier. But if you can't, use your coupons. Go out on Black Friday and get some of this, or one of these, and you can make some crochet projects for under $20, under $10, under $5. And I even have a project that you can do for nothing. So, now that I have talked about some of the cheap yarns and all that, and you're going, oh my god, I just want to know the projects, let me talk about the projects. So I talked kind of generally about some projects you can do with the Caron 1 pound and with some of the chunky yarn. And now I want to give you some specifics. These are some things that I have made, or some things that I have seen other people make. So some of these I can show you, some of these I can just tell you about. So the first thing that is super quick to make, and you can probably make a few of these in a day, is a cotton washcloth. This was like the first one I ever made. I made some for presents and I gave most of them away. I just have this one with this really ugly yarn. But this took me barely any time at all. I just found sort of a textured pattern, and it made one of these, and I weaved in the ends, and boom, done. You could probably make 5 of these in a day or more. If you only have an hour or two, just make one of these. Maybe buy a cheap bar of soap and wrap it up in this to make it smell nice, and just be like, here you go. It's a cheap, simple little project. Like, if you have somebody who is coming over for Christmas or for another holiday and you're kind of obligated to give them a gift, but it doesn't have to be a big gift, this is wonderful, because this is just a small little thing that you can make. And if you want it to be a little bit more substantial and you have a little bit more time, you can make several of them, and that way you can give them a washcloth set. And it's fine. I know it seems kind of silly, but washcloths are super, super useful. Now, of course, if you have, it's like a little kid or something, they're not going to appreciate it. But this is great for adults, is what I usually find. So, this is one of these will make probably a couple of these. I always recommend when you do if you get this, try to get several in the same color, but you'll easily make one of these with one of these. Now another project, I don't currently have any with me, but that you can make a ton, of them with one of these, are little reusable cotton face pads. They're usually about this big. You can also make bigger ones. There's patterns online. You're basically just crocheting in a little round. You can put some texture on there if you want. And you just make a bunch of them, and you can put them in like a reusable jar if you have a jar available. You can just tie them in some ribbon, and this is really nice for any of you could like female coworkers or nieces or your mom, grandma, you know, anybody who does facial care really. And they work up so quick. You can make a ton of them easily. If you only have a day, you can make just a ton. In a few hours, you can make a bunch of them. It's a really, really fast project. And so anything you make with one of these is only going to cost you $2 if you bought it not on sale. If you bought it on sale, it's going to cost you $1. So it's really, really, really cheap. And those are really quick projects. For something that will take a little bit longer, you need at least a day for this, I've found. If you're a fast crocheter, these may take a little less time. But this is a dishcloth. I'll try to remember to put the link for this in the description. It's a free pattern I found. I think it's called the Bubbly dishcloth. Bouncy Bubbly dishcloth, I believe is the name of it. And this one has been very well loved and used. I have been using this for a couple of years now, actually. And it has held up wonderfully. I didn't know if it would. But this took about 3 of these. And so again, if you get them on sale, you probably only spend maybe $3 or $4 on the yarn. If it's not on sale, it might be $6 or $7. But it's still a beautiful item. And you can do it in a day. And it works really well. And again, it's more of an adult project because, let's face it, kids don't really care. For kids, like I mentioned, with the Karen 1 pound or with the a chunky yarn, this is the Bernat Softy Chunky that was on clearance. You can do hats and scarves, and especially you can get more out of your skeins of yarn if they're for kids because they're much smaller. Hats and scarves are great. There are a ton of free patterns online. Just Google free kids hat pattern, crochet pattern, and you can find a ton, and they always work up really quick, and you can get those done in like an hour or two, so that's not a problem at all. If you have a little bit more time, you don't really need any extra money, but you want to make sure you have enough yarn, but you can do what's called an amigurumi, or it's basically making a stuffed animal. You can make different sizes. Usually you need some cotton batting to put in it, polyfill and the like, but you can find other things around the house, and if you have any fabric scraps or anything like that, you can make little stuffed animals for the kids, things like that. You could also, if you have the time, you can make them a blanket. This is an adult size blanket, but you can make a smaller kid size blanket. I will tell you that even if you have the nice, cheap, wonderful, we love you Karen 1 pound, blankets take a long time. So blankets are a project that you should do if you have time. You can do it cheaply, but you need the time. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it as a last minute gift, but that is an idea. You can always plan for that for next year. So another project you can do, and this is with Crochet Thread. This stuff never goes on sale. I have never found it on sale, but coupons always work on it. So just use a coupon, get it for a couple dollars, and one of these will make several projects. Now I have some easy projects, but I'm going to show you a more complicated one that will not take you a day. This will take you several weeks probably. That's a doily. You can do different doilies with the Crochet Thread, and they're beautiful. If you know ahead of time that you need a nice pretty project to give to somebody, maybe your grandmother or a coworker, or you just have somebody who really likes lace or Victorian stuff, or they like steampunk, you can do something like this, but they do take time. for something that is a nice, quick, last-minute cheap idea, you can do earrings. I used to make a ton of these little earrings, and I never actually did anything with them, but they are super quick and they're really cheap. They use so little crochet thread. This is just a little flower. I can't, oh my gosh. This is just a little flower. And you can just buy some little earring hooks from Michael's or Joann's for a couple dollars, and you can make a ton of earrings. This could be really good if you have any nieces, or again, coworkers, or anyone who wears earrings. Just make a couple of little tiny flowers or leaves, or you can even do like little tiny stuffed animals if you have the time. But you can also make really cute tassel earrings, and that doesn't even really require much crocheting, but the crochet thread or embroidery floss will work really well for them. So I have different types of these little tassel earrings. Some look better than others, but they're really cute and they work up really well. I have some braided tassel earrings, but they're very quick, they're very cheap, and it's something that you can do with crochet thread. The only issue with doing a crochet thread is you may not have the hooks for it, so you may have to buy a hook for it, which will cost you an extra $1 or $2 if you have a coupon. So we have several last-minute gift ideas, but that are, you know, relatively cheap. I'd like to think that it only costs you $5 or less for most of these. But what happens if you just don't have any extra money? Say you just don't have the extra money to spend on anybody this Christmas. What can you crochet if you don't have the extra yarn or extra money for anybody? Well, I got a great project for you. It does require something, but most of us have this. So, this is a reusable grocery bag. This is made of something called plarn, which is plastic yarn. This is made up of those plastic disposable grocery bags. And it takes about 70 to 80 of them to make something this size, but you can make something smaller. A lot of people make reusable grocery bags. You can make wine totes, you can make baskets. The project actually started making mats for the homeless because they're much easier to clean. But you can make several different projects with plarn. And if you look up online, it's very simple actually to make plarn. You just need to fold the bags and cut them into loops and then tie the loops together, and then you just crochet with it like yarn. You do need a slightly larger hook size. I use the size L hook, but you can probably get away with size J. That's, you know, usually a big enough size will usually get you. But yeah, so this is a great present to give to somebody, and as long as you have plastic grocery bags, it'll cost you nothing. Just your time. And this is not a good, I wouldn't say this is a great last minute gift idea if you only have a few hours, because you will not get this done in a few hours. It actually takes longer, I feel like, to make the plarn, because you have to cut all the bags and tie them together, than it does to actually crochet this. The crocheting part doesn't take super long, but making the plarn does take a little effort. So yeah, if you have leftover grocery bags, you can use different colors. That's okay. If you have access to grocery bags, I've actually had cashiers just say, "Hey, you want some extra bags?" My whole point is I'm trying to recycle the ones I have, so I don't need extra ones. But you can get extra grocery bags sometimes from the store, and you can make this, and it won't cost you anything but your time. So those are some of my last minute gift ideas for crocheting that are cheap. They're cheap. I like to say, oh, it's relatively cheap. Like, no, it's cheap. I do stuff on a budget all the time. I don't like to pay full price for anything. I will, but I don't like to, especially for anything at the craft store. 9 times out of 10, you have a coupon and you can find a way around it. It's okay to say, hey, I want to do a couple of different transactions so I can use all these different coupons. I have done that many times. Don't feel ashamed about doing that. But just use everything to your advantage. Get the cheap yarn. Go on the sales. Try to stock up ahead of time. So if you have these last minute conundrums, you already have the yarn and you can just make something really quickly. But yeah, so I don't know if this was useful or not. I didn't really provide that many patterns, but I'm hoping that, you know, you got some different ideas for what to do, what to buy, how to stay on a budget. And if you have any questions or comments, like if you need to know what to make for somebody, I can give you some ideas. So just let me know. I've made tons of different things for people, and I would consider myself a I don't know if I'm an advanced crocheter, but I'm definitely high or intermediate. So I've done quite a few things in my time crocheting, and hopefully I can give you some help and some advice. So yeah, so I hope you found this helpful. And I know it's probably rambly, it's kind of all over the place. I don't even have yarn in the background because trying to film with all my yarn in the background means I have to go in there, and this is a desktop, and that probably wouldn't work. So yeah, I feel like all those crochet channels always have yarn in the back, and I'm like, no, I have my books. This is where I sit and I film. But yeah, anyway, this is my channel. I ramble and it's annoying. But yeah, so thank you for watching. And I'm sorry for any of you who are my regular subscribers and are like, what the heck is this? I will still be doing my regular content, book reviews, and talking about writing and all that, but occasionally I'll talk about crocheting because I enjoy it. I'm probably going to do a video soon, actually about a couple of like money saving apps I use, which is going to be weird, but I want to tell people like, hey, you can save money with this, do it. So yeah, I will see you later. I need to stop talking. I've just been talking forever. I will see you later and have a good week. Bye.